You're listening to the Earth Experience Podcast.
Who are you?
Who am I? Well, my name is Kiwanis. Zen Oasis is what I go by, but my name is Kiwanis. I am just a divine being of love, purposed to impact and inspire the masses through the embodiment of joy and freedom, and through embodying joy and freedom for myself. I inspire those who need my medicine to unearth the joy and freedom for themselves and their own experiences.
I love it. So I start off with that question because my goal is to investigate belief systems. A lot of my work, I'm calling it my work now, is to investigate belief systems and to learn stories. And I came across your content online, and there's so many different angles I could take. But I wanted to start with you and who you are and get a background about your belief systems and how you are announcing yourself today. So thank you so much for doing so. When we think about belief systems, what would you say your primary belief system is as you navigate this earth and this life?
My belief system change every day, honestly. When I was younger, I didn't understand when Lauryn Hill said, a man who knows something, no, not Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu. A man who knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. I didn't get it, but the more I think I know something and navigate through what it even means to be here, the less I realize I know. And so now my belief systems are ever evolving, but I'll say what I follow now is that joy is our birthright. And that has become my foundation. And even while in my introduction, I put my purpose is joy. And so then the question is that, okay, what do I believe joy is? How do I believe joy is to be found or to be realized or to be had or to remembered? And so my beliefs have been spanning off from that.
So what was the root of it? So with the understanding that they've changed so many times, and I'm not sure if it changed maybe later on so many times or if you had a space and time where it was one belief system, but when you were a child growing up in your home, what was practice?
Oh, okay, yeah. Christianity. Grew up Christian. My family is still heavily in, my entire maternal side is in ministry, still to this day. So grew up very Christian, went to church, hated it. I just thought that as a child, there's something very circus about this. And it was traditional Baptist that I went to. So there's something very circus about this. As a child, I didn't feel I belonged there.
Ooh.
And it wasn't fun. And that's as a child, even so, I knew joy. I knew I needed joy, but I didn't know how to articulate. But I don't, it's because something's not fun about it. And so also, it just felt very condemning. I didn't have the language as a child, but I didn't love the way that being there made me feel about myself. There were times where I would be sitting in the pews and I had to have been 5 or 6 years old. My mind was starting to wander. And I was, man, God is going to be so mad at me for thinking about this. Whatever I was thinking about. I'm like, God is going to be mad if I think about this. So instead of being able to listen, I was spending my time trying not to think about whatever I was thinking about for fear that God would see it and I would go to hell for thinking about it.
Where do you think that came from? Was it something that was on the pulpit? Was it something your mom or father said? Or was it something that you kind of like thought of internally because of what you heard in church?
I'm definitely going to say it was an inherited belief. I don't even remember what them folks were saying in the church. Yeah. From the years my mom was making us go to church was from birth to 12.
Yeah.
So, but thinking about how impressionable children are, I have no idea what was even being said. But I just knew that I thought that God was judging me. And I wanted to be a good girl in God's eyes. And so trying so hard to just manage what I now know were just regular thoughts, but just feeling wrong for it. So, I mean, who knows? And then into my 20-somethings, really, that's when I started to feel I was searching for something. And so I went back to my foundations. When I got back from college, I went back to my foundations, back to a Christian church. And I was just searching. I'm seeking. I'm at the altar on my knees praying. I'm something. But that is when I do remember hearing the condemnation in the pulpit, hearing the judgment and things of that nature. And I was, all right, this ain't it.
What led you to the altar when you were searching? Was there a particular event that happened, or was it just felt a void? What led you back to?
Nobody has ever asked me that, and I have never thought about that. What led me back at that time? I had to be 23, 24, so I had my daughter at 21. Honestly, I was in so much pain I did not know how to articulate. I had never seen a therapist. I didn't know anything about mental health. I didn't know anything about emotional health. I didn't even know I had feelings. I thought everybody, like serious, I thought everybody felt chaotic on the inside. And I didn't even know how to articulate that there was anything wrong with my internal world. But what I had seen growing up was people going to the altar and praying and crying.
Yeah.
And that was the only way that I knew how to call out and ask for help. I was in what I call the sunken place mentally and emotionally, and I didn't know what else to do to get help.
We're going to pull from this in a little. I'm just interested in every emotion or every thought that went through this process before you started to establish a new belief. When you go to the altar, you say you remember hearing the condemnation. Did you feel anything when you went to the altar? Did you feel you were trying to feel, or did you feel anything at all? Was it completely nothing?
I was definitely breaking down and crying. If I can recall that day, I was pulled to the altar, I'll say. If I can call that day, I was pulled there, and there was a barrier to vulnerability to even get me to go there because I didn't want anyone to see me cry. But I felt if I don't do this, God won't hear me. Right. And I felt the only way for me to be heard is to go there and just lay everything bare. So I was crying and I felt an emotional release, but I can't necessarily say I felt better emotionally afterward. I was just on my knees crying. And now what I will say, though, is I definitely was hurt.
Yeah.
Most definitely, because it was after that I received The Church Ain't For You. And I said, it's really interesting. It's interesting that I pray. At the altar, I remember praying, please just help me. Show me the way. What's wrong? Help me understand. I want to be better. I want to do different. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to hurt anymore. And I was like, show me the way. Then it was leave the church. Okay.
People put this in different language, especially if they are in a church. They'll say, God spoke to them and God said this. And I usually always wonder what that's, because I never had that experience. And I try to just make sure I lean into people's experience that's outside of mine so I can understand it. But is it someone in your ear? Is it something that you feel? Or was it a message? When you hear the message, the church is not for you, is that something that you can hear back from yourself? And it's clearly kind of talk us through that.
I also want to just hit on how you said when people said God said. I rarely say God said anymore. I surmise that is a way that many people personify their higher knowing and their intuitive guidance, is to say God said. So I no longer say that. I will say I received inspiration from somewhere or something, or I felt, or I sensed, or I'll even just say they, because it can be multiple helpful entities sending the message. So just wanted to clarify that, because I'm like, was it God? What's God? Am I God? Which spirit? As it came for me, it came forth as a deep internal knowing. So it came a voice in my head, but then also a feeling in my gut. And it literally was, this is not it. And then the energy was get up and leave. Just walk out the door. I'm okay.
Yeah. I'm being careful when I say this because it's only based off of my reflection, but that's probably the most honest answer I've heard, probably because it mirrors exactly what I feel when I get an answer and it's clear. And I just really came across this a few days ago when I was actually reading, and the way that it was written, it was talking about prophets telling false teaching. Prophets are saying that God said, and I didn't say it, right? And I remember going back to this one time I said, I feel God told me this. And I think it was almost something that we do naturally because maybe how people communicate around us and it feels the right way to say it. But when I really unravel it, I don't know if God said it. I don't know if it's me saying it. But what I can say is I know myself a little bit more. The things that we might not even tell people, we can tell we're BSing or whatever, a little bit about what you may or may not think and what seems just outside of you, whether it's, I think it's more related to something that's different, not so much negative, because sometimes we can speak negative and those voices can be really close to one another, us talking negative to ourselves or some other entity talking and we're believing it. But when it comes to something where it's, I don't know if I would have said that, but it feels right.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel I have that feeling, as you said, or that real strong knowing, there's clarity. And it stands out to me mostly because I am always thinking and investigating. I have so many questions. So, oh, that's clear. When it's clear, oh, yeah, that looks right. You mentioned something. You said entities. When you think about the multiple different entities, what does that mean to you? Are you personifying evil entities or what are entities? I'll just leave it there to you.
So I look at an entity as a disembodied being, just period. Whatever label we want to put on it, good or bad. I mean, some have energetic signatures that negatively impact us. And then some might be a helpful spirit or something that's walking around. It could be a tree spirit. It could be the spirit of that flower. It could be, who knows? But I look at an entity as a disembodied being. When you were speaking about where does that voice come from, the knowing, and how honestly, I just think it's culturally to say God said. So that I started to catch myself because that doesn't feel true. And only because of what we have come to know or personify God as, doesn't feel right to say that. I started to say I received because it's okay. I did receive that, but now where did I receive it from? In my line of work, and then in working with different people, what I found is that different entities will speak through different people. If we had to put it in lay terms, you can think of it as theirs and a specific energy that they carry. And so whatever frequency the entity on it has the power to project through them. That's the best way. When I'm like, can I simplify that? Is that simple enough? It's projection almost. It's projection in different ways. And so that's why I'm very careful about saying who said it, because we carry the spirit and the energies of everyone that came before us. And so even in that knowing that, okay, I'm receiving that the church is not for me, and I feel this as a full body yes. As I sat with that later, there is something that already knew my path. We can say it's God, or we can say it's a guardian angel, or we can say it's an ancestor. We can say it's whatever, but something spoke to me. And then in other times, something speaks through me. And I'm, oh, this definitely ain't me. And working with people, some entity is speaking through me and prophesying and telling people about their healing. And I'm like, hell, there's no way I would know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that you brought this out. Two things. And you can go wherever direction after. You reminded me of a video I just recently saw from you about the signatures of certain energies. And it made so much sense to me because I'm looking at the world, and I'm only looking at the world based off of my limited understanding of why I'm here and all the things. And I'm trying to figure out, how do people become bad? What is good? And when you were talking about, and I could be using the wrong language, you might be familiar with this video. It was not too long ago. When you talk about some people are here with certain type of energies, they had a evil energy signature. And I translated that and interpreted that to be, there are people who are on this planet right now, or on this earth, or however we might communicate that their spirit, their energy is really created to do X, right? And I'll just leave X to whatever it is. And so if I'm looking at a certain person, I just can't understand, why do they have so much hate? Why are they so want to hurt people? Why do they look at life that way? It's different to see a person who is mean because they're hurt versus a person who just seems they're just mean and they don't care. If somebody came and gave them a hug, they would still find a way. It just feels different. You can kind of see through that. But when you were talking, I was thinking about that, but I also thought about how we're using the words energies and entities. And I am right now exploring the difference between how you were raised as a Christian and then how everyone is navigating. And I say everyone lightly. I just think because I'm so into the content right now, it seems everybody is spiritual. And so when you're communicating in these two worlds, there are keywords that stand out that make people go, what is your response to how do you communicate the uses of like energies and somebody speaking through you and not knowing if that someone is an entity of dark versus light? And I'll add this little note to some clarity. When I hear someone who defines themselves as a Christian talk about the spiritual communities, they'll mention, oh, they can have a good spirit come through them, but that spirit is still of Satan because Satan comes as an image of light. And that perspective could seem right to the Christian community, but I think it takes some time to understand. What is your perspective on that? Do you believe that when you have something speaking through you and you don't know it, like when you're working with your clients and you don't know it, that it could be manipulative in the energy world or the spirit world? How do you see it?
Got you. I do remember the post, and I was speaking about how when a person is spiritually disobedient, then it opens doors for these, what we would call negative energetic signatures to intercede into our lives and to affect our livelihoods and then those of people around us as well. I love that you're doing this about belief systems because there are 10,000 ways to speak about this. It really just depends on how you're raised and how you want to see it.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we can look at it as an actual disembodied being and personify the energy. Sometimes it helps for people to look at it that way as something that can be personified. When we speak to the negative or the positive energies or whichever, just the entity. But then on the other hand, looking at it from a karmic lens, rather than it being personified, karma looks at it an energetic inheritance. So from the karmic lens, it looks at it as if, say, it looks at it from the place of every soul is inherently pure. Every soul is inherently pure. If we can get to as close as a soul can get to the divine way of being, then that is inherent purity. But then as we walk through life and make choices and decisions, then we taint the spirit and we taint the soul. But our parents' decisions and then their parents' decisions and collectively, all of our collective experiences, we can look at this as it's just adding things to our bag and adding things to our karmic load. And as that tainting happens, then we're born already with an inheritance of dense energy. And then sometimes that energy gets so dense that it becomes sentient and that it takes a mind of its own. And now this is what we have, what we call an entity. So we can look at it as a disembodied being, or we can look at it as this energy has been present in your DNA, in your lineage, and your whatever for so long that now it has a life of its own. And so when we speak to the projection of demons, from my experience in working with people to free themselves of their demons, that is exactly what a demon is. I've never seen a different demon. I've just never seen one that couldn't be broken down on that level, given a personification of, okay, this is exactly what it's doing in your life. And now when we think about the concept of exorcism, we can look at it as, okay, you are stripping an actual demon from a person, or we can look at it as this person has to purge this density from their physical vessel. That's exactly what's happening. They're throwing up. They're shaking. Somatic healing. They're shaking the dense energies off of them. Two different ways to look at it. From a Christian lens, we're going to call it a demon. From an energetic lens, we're going to call it, you need to purge this dense energy off of you.
Yeah.
So speaking to the projection of it, and when people, God said, and then what it is, I'll say for myself, it required me to do deep work into grounding into who I am. And I had to get to know my own mind. That's where people lose their minds. And that's where you just see a lot of egoic prophesying, I'll say, because these dense energies attach to ego. They attach to the desire to be seen. They attach to manipulate, like you just already having a manipulative energy. It's not that they're coming in and making a person do anything. That was already there. And it found a way now to come and feed off of it. And especially people who are in leadership positions, now it's able to project through you when you are not grounded, I'll say. So for me, when I'm working with someone, when I was not as dedicated to making sure I'm okay, I would hear something try and come through. And I ain't saying that. There was a lot more question. I would hear something come through, or I would feel my ego come in, or just to be honest, I cannot think of a person who's in this work who has not experienced that. Feeling your own ego coming forth. And when you allow it to, that's when the entities have the ability to project through. But it's when all ego is removed, you literally, I don't know how better to say is when I completely don't care about the outcome and I know that I'm not doing anything and I completely step back, I can feel myself embodied with truth. And then that speaks through. And if anything else tries to come, because I've become so acquainted with my own mind and my system, then it's not getting past here.
Yeah.
But in order for a person to know, they would have to be really grounded within themselves.
You mentioned something that's very important that I think helps me as well, is being honest with yourself and that truth. Because I can notice that as long as you are being honest and true, you're going in the right direction. And the reason why that's my theory and thing, one, no matter where you sit in I think the belief system spectrum, we want people to be honest. But what's so interesting is part of my honesty and truth is I have questions about my belief systems, but I also don't feel so torn apart from it. I'm interested in how others' belief systems are formed because I didn't get the memo in that way.
Yeah.
And so I'll hear people, whether it's in a pulpit or in spiritual practices, and everyone speaks with definitive language. They have this knowing and understanding, and it's, where'd y'all get that book from? Where'd y'all go to school? When did I miss class? Because why is it that everybody has the truth, right? And that's where truth becomes so interesting because it's, well, over here they say this is the truth.
Yeah.
Over here they say it's the truth. And I'm wondering, maybe we are saying the same thing, but we want our truth to be
The truth,
right? We want it to be our team wins instead of maybe we're saying the same thing and we're just dressing it up differently. And maybe there's some reason that's why we do that. But the reason I say that is because as you were speaking, I was thinking, I got to go back to when you said the church is not for me. What were some of the steps? And I know it's probably a lot of steps because you live in life. But if you were able to kind of go through that journey from the church is not for me, where to go from there? And what did that look for you to say, that feels right? Because you mentioned that you hated the church. There was condemnation that you felt when you were older, that you were trying to monitor your thoughts when you were younger so you weren't wrong. So all of that feels confusing. So there's something about the transition that happened that was in your favor when you heard that the church is not for you. But what happens after that? What did that look for you? I'm grabbing onto this.
Yeah. Honestly, something that I quoted in my book was, in the process of letting go, we need to be okay with being empty long enough for what we actually need to be filled with to come into our lives. And so I didn't know what to do after that. But there were just so many synchronicities that happened. Once I left, I was okay, I don't know what to do. And so I did nothing for a while. But then one day, I did nothing. I think maybe I've always been an avid reader, so maybe I just picked up some of my regular books. I just went on about regular life. I was just, okay, I don't know what to do. And then I also didn't even know the term healing. I didn't know to look for healing books. I had no idea. But I was waiting for my daughter outside of one of her gymnastics class one day, and just so happened to be listening to a podcast by Mike Tyson. I have no idea why I was listening to that. And he was talking about, he mentioned ayahuasca and bufo. And he just spoke to his experiences with those medicines. I had never heard of plant medicine before. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. And that's what I got from it. His experiences were so intriguing. I said, oh, it's interesting. I didn't even go and search or anything. I was just, okay, I don't even know how to spell ayahuasca. I don't know how to spell that word, so I can't search it. Okay. But I was pole dancing at the time. I was pole instructor for 8 years and competitive pole and all of that good stuff. So this was still in my pole era. I went to take a lesson at my teacher's house. And I said, I was listening to this podcast by Mike Tyson. No. She mentioned Mike Tyson. And I was, oh, that's interesting. And I was, well, I was listening to a podcast by him and he mentioned this stuff called ayahuasca. So she, unbeknownst to me, she was a medicine woman. I didn't know. I had never talked to this woman about anything outside of pole. So she was a medicine woman. She shows me this. We go to her kitchen and she shows me a drawer full of stuff. My eyes didn't know what that stuff was, but I just saw stuff. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. And so she had asked me, would I be willing to try something? So we sat with, and again, I'm literally saying yes to everything. I think I was in a yes era. I said, I'm just going to say yes to things that come to me. So I was, okay, yes. And we sat with MDMA. That was the first time I had tried the plant medicine. That's the first time I had anybody hold space for me. And this feels absolutely amazing. The first session, I just cried for 6 hours straight. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know I had that much crying in me, but it just felt good to release. Our second session, I cried for 3 hours. And then the next one just felt joyful. But in our last session, there was a moment where every single thought that was in my mind just stopped. There was nothing. And it was so much of nothing that my eyes started darting back and forth, trying to find something to think about because I had never been empty before. And I said to her, I said, I'm so empty. Wow. Is this normal? I said, do people just walk around feeling this? She was, yeah. And from that, baby, I was hooked. After that, I was okay. I said, if this feeling is something that I can have, then this is the way that I'm going to go. And 2 months later, I'm in Costa Rica drinking ayahuasca. I was serious.
I appreciate this story so much in so many different ways because I remember that same process of doing nothing, right? You come to a conclusion where I'm being honest because about my belief systems at this time. If I'm supposed to leave the church, I don't know where to go. I am doing nothing. I think there's so much beauty in doing nothing because a lot of what I'm finding in this study is we're trying to grab onto something because we need something, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we'll grab onto something that makes us perform. And in other times, we grab onto something and we actually do find something, and it could be in any of these lanes. Sometimes it might be simple, where it's just, I feel good with these directions or this guidance. And other times it might be some type of spiritual awakening and you do something that's wild and crazy. Or it could be that you take some substance and it gives you that feeling of something brand new. With all of these processes that you're going through that led up to the Costa Rica, did you tap into a different dimension? Did you see anything beyond this world that you would share? Have any interactions with spiritual beings or felt you were in another place? Or did it all just feel internal work and you were grounded?
Where I was at the time is so interesting that you asked this question. Because I think this is really something that people need to understand about plant medicine. It gives you what you need. I didn't need to interact with any beings. I needed to heal my damn trauma. And so 2.5 years of sitting with ayahuasca, all of it was trauma healing. And there are some people who maybe have some trauma to heal and they still go. I have never been out to outer space. I have never seen an intergalactic being. That hasn't happened to me on my ayahuasca journeys. My journeys literally were pulling me above water. I didn't realize how under the water I was. That medicine had to teach me how to feel again. I didn't know I wasn't feeling. I didn't know what feelings felt for real. That medicine she just had to work with me to get me back in my body. And it took 2 years of working with the medicine consistently for me to get to where I was, to the point where I was actually finally able to do lineage healing. I couldn't even touch my lineage healing because she had to just get me back present and wanting to live. I didn't know I didn't want to live. It was just so much of, I don't know what I was doing. Just literally not in my body, floating around life. So I didn't need to be in the stars. I needed to get into my damn body.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's real. When we talk about, we have different names for practices, is working on yourself, really. That time of sitting in nothing and being quiet and really looking at you, that mirror is so effective. And it's not something that's really taught a lot in some of your Christian spaces. From my point of view and my experiences, it almost feels it's just make sure you keep these rules up, but they don't really show you what that's supposed to look or how you're doing it properly. It's and then we all kind of just accept it because this is what we've known since our mother and father.
Yeah.
And earlier you were talking about the different entities that will form coming and stemming from our mother and father. And I want to share with you your piece of content. The reason why I reached out to you on the show is I wanted to start doing almost an author review. You are an author already, so I made sure to shout out your book at the end so we can get people to look at that. But with the author reviews, but it's going to be creator reviews, so you're creator/author. It's a time for you to come in for a book review and go through these questions. And so I use a growth framework. We're only going to point out one of them, but we're going to listen to one of your videos right now. You've already seen it, but it's for the listeners to be able to hear it. But I guess just take a closer eye as you're listening. And I'm going to pull out a question for you that's a part of the growth framework.
Okay.
Needs from the masculine idea of who I wanted my father to be die in the eyes of my inner child. That was painful, but it was necessary. I had learned to see him as a human being with his own life and wounds. Someone I could appreciate and love without expecting him to fill shoes he was not equipped to wear. His life path has not been gentle. And in truth, parts of me projected a perfect father unto a man who truly does his best with what he has. I began to value the way he does show up for me and stop looking for one man to be my everything. Instead, I allowed myself to receive what I needed from the masculine through the presence of many men. I noticed my father wounding showing up in my expectations of men inside of romantic relationships. Because my inner child still had so many unmet needs from the masculine aspect. And when I say the masculine aspect, it is father, but in truth, there is just a need for feminine energy and the need to be filled with masculine energy. On the masculine side of things, there were so many things that I didn't receive from what I thought a father should be. And so that led to me being consistently disappointed inside of my romantic relationships because I didn't need a lover. I needed to be reparented. I needed a father. And it wasn't until I opened myself up to receiving that energy from many people, from many men, and I started to look at what these men did provide for me rather than seeking one person to be everything, that I was able to heal those wounds and let go of my parental wounds.
I go through this growth framework, and it's a framework that I'm developing and I'm practicing with any viewers that come on this journey with me. It's mostly my way of being creative with my belief system process. And when I was looking at your content, it reminded me of how important it is to go through our childhood, go through the relationships or non-existent relationships with our mother and our father. And I want to challenge anyone who's listening to do that based on the content that you share here. So the growth framework, for anyone who is not familiar, probably no one really, because I'm in my own little world. But the G is for gut reaction, the R is for root system. So I'm going to pause here because the root system is where I think we can pull out some questions for you as the creator of this content. So you mentioned reparenting. Reparenting yourself required understanding where you felt there may be a lack of parenting. And that's just an assumption. Maybe you can kind of pull out some better examples.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for some stories on how did you know that you needed to be reparent, and what was identified in some of your existing relationships? What did that look like? Someone was trying to identify, oh yeah, maybe that's what I need to do as well, that you saw in the relationship that you existed in before you reached that understanding of reparenting.
Yeah. First things first, my parents did an amazing job, right? Love. They did their big one. I am here, present, and thriving. But I recognized, one, the expression of my needs was one of the biggest things. As a child, I did not have space to express my needs in a way that felt safe. It just makes me think about, and my dad is a Capricorn, by the way, so it just makes me think about being in the car one day and being, I'm thirsty, and it was hot, and I was thirsty. And he said, drink your spit. So, ha ha ha, parental, born 80s and 90s, that's how our parents did, but there was a need that wasn't met. And so my core needs were always met, but I didn't feel free enough to express myself to say, hey, I want this, or I need this. Or, I mean, there were times when my shoes were too small and I was afraid to ask for new shoes. So, and knowing if I would have expressed myself, they would have bought me some new shoes, but I would have heard of, it wouldn't have been an immediate, okay. It would have been, nom, 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 nom. And then, okay, now we'll get you some new shoes. And it was all of the talking all of the talking at me about it or got something to say about it that didn't feel safe. So into my romantic relationships, it was a total lack of expression of what I needed. An expectation of being disappointed because as a child, I learned to expect to be disappointed because I wasn't asking because I didn't feel okay asking. So an expectation of being disappointed, not expressing what I needed, and then just consistently going in this cycle of I expected disappointment, but then I would, what do people say, crash out? I would crash out when I was disappointed, immediately reverting back to a child state when my needs weren't met, but these were the needs I wasn't expressing. And there were many, many things that I could say. That's the first thing that shows up for me, noticing that whenever a need was not met, or there were times where I did express the need, and I was met with what I was met with in childhood. So much talk around it rather than, can you just do what I'm asking you to do? It's not too much. I know it's not too much. I would literally, in my body, I would go back to feeling a child. And is this the same? Should I be feeling a child? There's something undone here.
It brings out the opportunity for parents to listen to these stories, to see if they recognize themselves in that, because parenting is a very interesting experience. And I think because it's so important to me, it's so important to me. That's the way that I dreamed when I was younger. I didn't really have any big dreams. I knew I wanted to do maybe commercials. But when I thought about my big dream, it was my grandma and how I felt her. I want to grow into this person that people can feel. But I think that what you mentioned earlier is something that I also learned about myself, is that I don't know. I knew that I could cry, but I didn't really know if my feelings were there.
Yeah.
And that I really want to do this. I want to feel this, so I won't pretend that I'm this person that I'm not. So I understand I don't have feelings, but I still love y'all. I don't know how to make y'all feel it. But I knew that was coming from childhood as well, because that came from my mom and her brothers and sisters' childhood. And I learned that through conversation, through understanding them. Oh, that's how it was. But it's so interesting because the experience that they had growing up as a child, I didn't have with their same mother. I felt my grandmother way more. And they talk highly of my grandmother, honestly. But I think somewhere along the line, the way that they showed love was always through action, which I think is important. We get you this stuff. You got a nice home. But the feeling, I was always, how do I get that? Where do I get that from? But the reparenting is standing out to me also because when you become a parent, you get a different lens than when you are a child. And some people take it differently, but I have grace for both sides. I remember reaching this in my adulthood, and I called my mom, and I didn't really I probably had all the reasons to be, I don't need to say anything. But I just called her, and I was just thankful for her existing, thankful for her trying her best, because I don't really know any of her story. I really don't know her, that even living in the house for so many years. And I wanted to know her, but it was something about my experience was, man, I don't know how to do it, but I'm pretty sure that there's something, I don't know. I can't even explain it because I think I take it really seriously. It's been part of my identity, the parenting part, that I look at it from both lenses. I'm trying to parent children, and I think I lack in certain areas that I didn't get parented in, but I really don't want to blame anyone for it because it's always going to keep going back to, were you parent correctly? Or were you parent correctly? But what I can take ownership in is what you're sharing here is, how do I reparent myself? How do I do that?
So the reparenting of self, yes. I'll say I identify everything that you're saying about motherhood and even your relationship with your mother. I had to sit down not too long ago and I shared a piece of content about it, asking my mom questions about herself. Because hello, you haven't shared this stuff. But, yeah. So, yeah, it was very intentional about asking to get to know her a little bit better. But I have found that as a mother, I felt the exact same way when I first had my daughter. I don't feel anything. Like, where are the feelings? But my daughter's 13 now. And what has my girlfriends have reparented the little girl in me so that I could be a better mother. And I'm doing it for myself, but it's really through my sisterhoods that has made me a better mother. And then also learning from them as a mother. They didn't have the childhood experience. They had their own childhood experiences, but they didn't experience what I experienced and I didn't experience what they experienced. So seeing them being a different mother because we have different experiences is teaching me. I'm okay. I didn't see my mom as that mom, but there's a mom that's doing that. And so I can learn from that and now take that and I can become that mother as well, even if I didn't learn it from my own mother. So that's how we stop going back into, I didn't receive this in my childhood. You can receive it now.
What are your options?
Yep, you can do it now.
It is so timely that you said that right now. Zen, is so timely. I just had a conversation with one of my daughter has a friend and the friend's mom. I know it was be too long ago.
Yeah.
And I knew it was something interesting about meeting her and how she just showed up for my daughter, just the type of mom energy she had. And I went to her house the other day and we were just talking. And when I came in, it was, she's a mom. She's a real mom. Wow. I mean, and you know what? I was in so much admiration. And I think at one time, I probably would have felt a little shame. I'm not doing it well. I'm not doing it good. I should be better. But I was just, she's a mom. And I didn't want to put her in this position to automatically be my friend and to be what you were talking, like how we teach each other. But wouldn't that be great? Because I know that, and we had a conversation before I came over that day a couple of weeks ago when her and my my daughter's friend became friends, and I could feel her. I felt she was safe, and I can sense that through people's faces and the way that their tones are. I don't know. I just feel confident in it. I could tell.
Yeah.
And I remember at that point, she felt safe, and we had a conversation. And she's a little older than me, and I had in back in my mind we could teach each other. I never felt her being older than me. I was just gonna be taking all this some wisdom that I have. I just have a unique way of parenting, and I think the confidence and understanding about myself, going through that journey of knowing myself, made it so when I seen her, it was admiration and not a shame on myself. So I believe in that village. For sure. I think it will restore a lot of the disconnection that we have, if any. And I'm not sure if it's something that I'm just seeing, but it just seems there's been a disconnect between men and women and even women and women in our community. And it's just these very simple having nothing periods that could be helpful.
Yeah, honestly, I think people are just really burnt out from what I've experienced of mainly working with women and then even just seeing a lot of the men in the community. People are burnt out, but they also have not become vulnerable enough to open themselves up to receiving the help that they need. And that can just double back to people's belief systems. I mean, perhaps they don't believe, they've never seen a village. So perhaps they don't believe that people can be trusted. Maybe they don't believe that people are safe. It took me a while to believe that people would help me for no reason. Only because they love me, that I didn't have to show up and do something in order to receive. It took me a minute until I had a village of sisters who were, sis, you do so much. Let us help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. And I'm, are you sure? Really? And it's just the consistency of, hello, I'm here to help, whatever you need. And when I say that healed something within me so deep, and I became so full that it changed the way I mother. It ricocheted into every aspect of my life because I became full. I became a much more present mother. I became a much more present friend. The stuff I used to say I didn't have capacity for, I have capacity. Oh, it's not that I didn't have capacity. I was just burnt the fuck out and I needed support. And I do have the energy. I do have the space. I can show up. I can.
Yes.
We need
Absolutely.
to be vulnerable enough to accept the community.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if you follow social media and all different, but you're reminding me of a story that's trending right now. And it's about two friends. One name is B. Simone. I'm not really sure what her friend's name is, unfortunately. But the topic is that B. Simone is a celebrity or influencer. She has a friend who was down and out. She was homeless. She was on food stamps. She was having all these things going on. And next to her is a friend who has a lot of money. And she's hoping, I think, without saying that she needs help, that her friend will come through for her because she's seen her friend do it for other people. And from her friend's lens, two things I picked up is her money is different, but also that she used to give and people were taking advantage of her. The keywords that you just shared is being able to be a friend and just exist. I think that's most powerful because sometimes the exhaustion and even maybe the avoidance for me of friendships is I don't know if I have enough, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to be around you because I love you. I love being around you and it doesn't need to be transactional. But I think in the back of my mind is, but if I don't give you something, then I might not be a good friend. Yeah. But I'm trying to get out of this more and more money exchange and but be more of a plant that grows where it just keeps coming and coming. It doesn't take much but a seed. And the way that I see friendships is I just want you to exist. I just want, maybe your time is what we're exchanging, but and if I have it, I want to be in a position to give it all. I'm more here trying to be a creator. Maybe one day it'll pop off for me. But if I do, yes. But I'm living in America with all of you. It's exhausting. And I don't want to disappoint you because I don't have enough, or disappoint you because I might just have barely enough. And I got to decide whether or not I want to show up as a good friend or if I need to make sure I just kind of put some more towards my children. But all I really wanted was to have a friend to laugh with and to talk to and invest in that way.
Yeah, so I saw that and I purposefully scrolled away. It was bringing my attention back to it. And so I went to go look again because what is bringing my attention to this? But girl, this is drama and you just cannot. But it's a couple of different things that I saw in that as well. Something that one of my closest spiritual sisters and I talk about all the time, and something that we have, as I was laying on my porch this morning, I was crying, giving thanks for our relationship, because my relationship with her has shown me that relationships really take work. And I was crying because when she entered my life, she knew that we were going to be friends forever. She asked Spirit, was this a reason, a season, or a lifetime? And she taught me that, to ask that about people. She asked about me and she received lifetime. And so because our relationship is lifetime related, we've created this very safe container to where we grow and we conflict together. And we grow, and we've had so much conflict, but also so much love. But because we know neither one of us ain't going nowhere, it creates this very safe container for us to work our conflicts out with one another. And we've journeyed just through so many things, but something that she and we actively talk about these things, entitlement inside of friendship. So I saw that I get it. Like B. Simone could have helped her. I get it. And I also see when B. Simone spoke to the jealousy piece, that she said what it was is envy, boo. That's envy. And we often have that inside of our sisterhoods. It goes unspoken, but it's so okay to speak about so we can work through that conflict together. But also feeling entitled, and how all of that on both sides requires a level of healing, because it's okay if I say I love you, I am willing to help, but I'm not entitled to. But why am I not willing to? But I'm not entitled to. And it's just feeling into the myriad of things that could just be causing that. But something else I will say is, considering we are in America and community is necessary and resources and funds are absolutely necessary. Something that my sisters and I have started to do, and it started with me being very vulnerable about needing financial help and what we could do. So what we're doing now is we'll put together an event and everybody comes in to help. So it's not energetically taxing on one person, but then the person who needs it takes the resources from it. And now we're going to come and do it again. And when this person needs a lump sum of money, now we all come together because energetically, I only got to give an hour of my time to support you, sis. But now you take all the money from it. And that way we're cycling it's so powerful.
That is genius.
But people have to be willing. It has to be a willing heart. I only have to give an hour of my time to help you make a couple $1,000s because I know you have so many kids and you need to feed your family. And I only have to show up for you and give an hour of my time to support you. And maybe I got to post this a little bit and send some emails. Sis, that's nothing. But it's when we come out of the ego-based friendships and really come into community and reciprocity, but it has to be people who have the same heart and same mind.
Oh, I'm sitting with that one. Isn't it interesting that there are these very simple things that we could do, but we don't? This is why I love conversation, because you tap in. One of the things that came out of the conversation with the mom friend is this understanding that we gatekeep information from one another. Going back to that jealousy conversation, I think I have a little bit of grace there just because she was able to communicate that and grow through that. People said she should have talked to a therapist, but I think therapy is a tool and resource, but they're also people too. And maybe there's this challenge for us to kind of learn therapy ourselves, but that's another conversation. But when I think about my friendships in a safe space, to me, her saying that to her seems just that has to be a fantastic friendship to be okay with saying that, right? You would keep that behind. This is the whole performing thing and lying or pretending. I could pretend I wasn't jealous and everything like that and never said it, but just kept letting that grow. But when you let it out and you confront it, you talk about your container and this conflict thing, that's beautiful because that really means all it takes is truth. What we were talking about earlier. A lot of this growing takes truth. So are we upset for her being honest? Are we upset because we don't feel her friend had the capacity to hear that she may have been jealous? I mean, it seems it's working for them, but that
I agree with you. I agree with you about the openness. What I'll say is perhaps, and I mean, being on a public platform that just like she just even has the balls. I commend her for having the balls. For us, we're literally watching her stumble over herself. Yeah. And that is so, I was thinking there's no amount of condemning to be done. We're watching her stumble and I am going to applaud as we watch her heal.
Yeah,
just for sure. Period. I'll say though, something that could have been learned from that is that there is a time and a place. Yeah. Something that I learned from my spiritual sister is like when a little bit of envy comes in, there's a time and a place to express it. And it's not when you are opening the space for me to be happy for you. It's not when you're opening that space for me to congratulate you. There was the very first retreat we ever worked together in Costa Rica. She had just led a powerful breath work. I call them her deliverance services. I'm like, girl, you are really just out here delivering. She had led that and I'm in it and I'm present. But what came to mind for me immediately was, well, this is so powerful and this is something that should keep happening. But what happens if she can't do it? I should learn how to do breath work too. That's where I didn't even take the time to be, oh my God, sis, that was so amazing. And so as soon as it was over, I said to her, I should learn breath work too. And that sent her into a spiral. She told me later that sent her into a spiral. She was, sis, I don't understand. Immediately I'm comparing, and maybe there was something within me that was comparing. But yeah. I did not say, you did such an amazing job. That's so beautiful. I immediately went to thinking about what I needed to learn. And then the next time we had a retreat, I made sure when she led the session again, so powerful, I went over to her, I gave her a hug and a kiss. I said, sis, that was amazing. And she cried. She was like, thank you so much. So it's
and the other thing, and I forgot to mention that when I mention celebrity names and I kind of watch creators online, I'm using their name, but it's really, if we take the name off and we just look at the experience, like a lot of us can grow and learn from the content that we see online. But I would say that in the story that you're sharing, I'm hearing practicing. That's one of the key words for me is sometimes it's odd or awkward to say, I got to redo this and do it better. And it might not even feel it's all put together perfectly. You sincerely feel it. But if you start practicing in that direction, it will start to become a part of you. And the reason why I know that to be true is because when we were younger and we started performing Christianity or performing whatever belief system, we just believed it until it wasn't true. But where does it land you is most important. If Christianity or whatever belief system has landed you in a place where you're honest and you're true, eventually, or is doing good for a contribution to yourself and people around you, I think that's most effective. But I appreciate you so much. It's so much I want to talk about. I know I only told you an hour, but wow, I really enjoyed you.
But we'll just have to do a part 2 because
please come back because there's so much I think that we could talk about, and I'll have another hour in my body and my bones. For real. Another hour because there's so much more to talk about. I love everything that you shared with me, the story that you shared. I hope that they're helpful to others. There's probably okay.
I know. I'm like at the look. So I'm
so thankful for you coming into this space so open and willing to answer my questions, because I know these conversations when like people are kind of, what do you do that for? Why you do that? They can come off one way or the other, but I sincerely I'm just interested. I'm just curious. Yeah. And you have such a way about you in what I see online, the content that you carry, that I hope that more people can tap into, which is one of my reasons is, hey, I hope that people can get to learn more about your journey and more about what you do. So as we close out, just share any last words and how people can connect with you, any social media platforms, your book, the website, all the things.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for you reaching out. Thank you for just heeding the calling. And before we even started talking, I've received, don't know who said it, whoever said it was, she's so good at this. And it was before we even started. She's so good at this. And you are so good at this. The personality, your presence, the way you break things down, the questions, your curiosity, your inquisitiveness, your willingness to not know is medicine. Like your willingness to just be open and be poured into and take it and then to just give it right back. I mean, it's golden. So I am really excited to follow your journey. Send me the Instagram so I can follow you. I'm really excited to follow your journey and see where this goes, because you are absolutely amazing at this. And I pray that everything that you, beyond what you desire or even think that this can be, it is above and beyond that.
My body is, I don't know what it is. My body is receiving this. Those words are so important to me. And one of the things, words are powerful. And I believe you just spoke so much life into me. Marking today from last night to the day. And it's so fitting that I had this connection with you and you shared those words, because I woke up with so much clarity. I know exactly where to go, the direction to go, and how to do it. And how I walked into this interview was, I had the confidence that I think is, I mean, I've been talking, I've been having interviews, but I think every time I'm just stumbling over myself, but I'm okay with that. I feel I probably will be stumbling a lot. I don't know all the things, and I don't know how to structure things. I don't know all the history and all the books. But I enjoy people and I love stories and conversation, and you just brought it home today. So,
oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll plug my book.
Yes,
What was planted here before I arrived? A journey of reimagining your patterns. The premise behind the book is just helping you return to self, becoming the driver of your life. Sharing a lot of my personal stories, as we shared the clip of me reading about my father. And also just sharing some different energetic practices and in language that many people can understand, and learning just how to free themselves from living lives that they don't want to live.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And your Instagram website?
Instagram, Purposefully Zenny. TikTok is the same. YouTube is the same. And my website is zenoasis.net.
Wonderful. All right, well, that concludes our experience today with Zen. If you learned anything from today's session, please let us know in the comments. Reach out, follows. And until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.